I did want to say and thank Maria for the opportunity. First of all, start by thanking the PTA Council and congratulating the PTA Council on their recognition by state PTA. A couple of years ago now, it's been a couple of years that Bree and I began talking about, how can we get the PTA Council back together to become an integral part of what we do in the Norman Public Schools. And I've been fortunate enough to serve in districts where we've had PTA councils, and this can be really a tremendous communication tool for our district and outreach to parents. So I'm glad to see so many of you here. The only thing I would say to you is if there's people that aren't here, and I'm going to work with our principals. If you work with your PTA presidents or your friends and tell them that this is an important communication piece within our district, especially as we go forward and address the issues that are important to public education and especially to you as parents. So I have a couple of things I just want to run through about the start of school, and then I'll turn it over to the program. First of all, Carrie stole one of my big ones, but that's okay. Teacher of the Year. So we had really two great recognitions to start out the school year with. And one of them was we have a state finalist for the state counselor of the year. And that will be named in October. Sarah Kirby is a counselor at Monroe Elementary School. Fabulous counselor. And she's a state finalist. And then we did have a state finalist as Teacher of the Year who was named Teacher of the Year. Sean Sheehan is a teacher at Norman High School, special ed / math teacher. And we know there's thousands of those around that we'll be able to find to replace. But Sean is a fabulous, fabulous teacher and will represent not only our community and our district, but really the state well in terms of our profession. And if you want to know a little bit about Sean, go on his website. And he really has promoted an initiative called Teach Like Me. And it is a fabulous initiative. It's kind of gone viral across the country. And the whole premise of it for Sean is to promote this idea that teaching is important, teaching makes a difference, and encouraging people around the country. So go on that website. You'll be impressed with Sean, but you'll be impressed with the message. So I'd encourage you to do that. So a couple of other things I just want to touch base on as we start school. Beginning of school is always an exciting time. Sometimes there's excitement at the beginning of school, but an exciting time. We're in about our 6th or 7th day now. Beginning to get things settled down. We still have continual enrollment occurring. We will fluctuate about 150 kids between now and October 1st, up and down. Right now, our enrollment looks like we'll be increasing, much like we have in the past few years, somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 kids. That is a nice growth for a school district. You always want to be a growing school district. Funding is so tied to student enrollments and growth that school districts today that are losing students are struggling. They're struggling badly. So we are in a fortunate position to where we are increasing students at a rate that we can also accommodate, which is another challenge. When you're increasing too many students at one time, it becomes difficult to accommodate. So nice growth. We'll have really good numbers, better numbers at the end of this week, and then October 1st will really be our driving number for how we're funded throughout the rest of the year. So we're looking forward to that. Quick bond issue update, and I think I'll have an opportunity later on in the semester to really do a full bond issue presentation. But as you can see around the district, things are really beginning to happen. I know the bond issue passed in February of 14, and not much happened between February 14 and a few months ago. But lots was happening, and that really was the planning and design stages. And I think any of these guys will be talking about Norman Forward or any of these individuals that have been involved in building projects. The success of the project is really tied to the preparation of the project, not the actual doing of it. And so we've spent the last year preparing. I am particularly excited about the work that's going on at both of our high schools, although there's about 40 projects going on around the district. I would encourage you to go to the district website, go into the tab that says district, and there'll be bond issues. Click on bond issues, and the 2014 bond issue will come up. And every project is there and the current status of that project, where it is in design phases or start phases, and some of them are about completed, surprisingly. But you'll also be able to see renderings of what the project's going to look like at the end. And I think that's the most important thing for some of us is, I'm not really a visual, I am a really visual person, and I like to see, okay, so what's it going to look like? This will give you a good idea of what you'll see. Particularly as you look at our two high schools and the major renovations there. Those were the two major projects. Freshman centers will be implemented over the next 2 years, and as importantly, our college and career centers. And so a major change in the way our high schools look. The other item that's a major, for me, in this bond issue is the implementation of the one-to-one technology. That implementation will also occur over the next 3 years. As we finish infrastructure in the district, if we finish these projects, we will also do a major one-to-one initiative for students in high schools and middle schools particularly, so that each student in our district has a device that they can use during the day and use at home, with obviously the objectives of extending the school day and extending opportunities for learning, and also a key position of equity for all students. So all students have access to the same type of opportunities. So we look forward to that as we go forward. But I'll be excited to really talk with you about those projects as they unfold and what they look like. The last thing that I'll mention, as far as, it's really not a start of the school issue, but it certainly is important to this group, and should be important to you as parents. We begin moving into the legislative session. There's going to be lots of discussion about how the state works its way through some of the deficits that it's seeing, some of the financial challenges that it's seeing. It's going to be important, particularly this year, that our legislature hears from our parents about expectations, about needs, and about priorities. They expect to hear from me. In fact, when they hear from me, they pretty much dismiss it because they expect to hear from me. They need to hear from you. And let me tell you one thing in particular. So we've had lots of challenges in public education over the last number of years. Certainly funding has been an issue, and I've said this before in Norman Public Schools. If I was funded today, as I was in 2008, now that's 8 years ago, in a per student funding, today I would have $5 million more to put into classrooms on 2008 funding. I also have 2,000 more students than I had in 2008. So does that impact me, and that impacts you, and impacts your kids? But what's the biggest danger we have in public education today? Funding is a piece of it. It is the lack of teachers to hire. The state has 1,000 teacher shortage. This is no made-up story. It's not a myth. There is a true deficit of teachers in this state. 1,000 teachers. Norman Public Schools hardly ever used to. We sit at the doorstep of the University of Oklahoma. Teacher recruitment has never been a problem for the Norman Public Schools. This is the first year I've had to ask for 12 emergency certificates. People that are not quite certified in the areas we needed to hire them in. Past years, if I asked for one, it was a lot. This is the first year when I've given principals the red light to hire another teacher to reduce class sizes at a grade level. After going through the interview process, they said we'd rather keep the kids in the teacher's classroom that we have with larger classes than hire the individuals that are available. That doesn't happen in the Norman Public Schools, so if it's happening to us, imagine some of our rural schools, some of our schools that are not in this kind of community that support public education. This is a real danger to your kids. And there's not a lot of time to wait to come up with some type of intervention. Oklahoma is not far from Texas. Today, a teacher in Oklahoma's starting salary, and not our district is higher than the minimum, but half of the school districts in the state of Oklahoma are on the minimum salary schedule, what the state says you have to minimally pay somebody. They start at $32,000, minimum salary schedule. We're above that. But those same teachers can go to Denton, Texas and start at 50. They're 2 hours from home. There's nothing to keep them here. So I say this not as a trying to create some type of panic. What I'm saying is we are at a critical time in the state of Oklahoma as it relates to public education. Now, many people may find other alternatives that they think are cures for public education. I will tell you now, and I can say these things because I'm like old enough to retire, I think. I can say whatever I want. These are bullets and slogans that will not change the lives of most kids in our state. They may be good alternatives for some students. Public education is the only institution that's going to serve all of our kids and create equity across our state for every student. It's going to take parents saying to our legislators, okay, enough is enough. And it's time. So PTA will be involved with that, get engaged. We have a parent legislative action committee that will be involved with that, and I guarantee you that I will be involved in those discussions. We have a state superintendent that has opened her door to listening. So we have a great opportunity. It's going to take parents. So with that, I'll close, but I'll ask, are there any burning questions that I can answer before we go on to the program?
I have a question about the one-to-one technology. What is the district's plan to bring parents along to know how to be supportive or adjust or accommodate?
And wary of all the
Well, just
pros and
how
cons.
it
There will
impacts
be
academics.
There'll be two pieces. There's a professional development piece that's now being created and worked on, and then there will be a parent component related to that in terms of training. The one-to-one will probably not be totally in place until the 17-18 school year. So currently we're doing infrastructure, looking at various devices, developing curriculum and how it will be integrated into the school system, and along with that piece will be a parent education piece. And I don't have the specifics on it yet, but there will be a parent education piece. There'll also be policies that will really guide us going through that process. Other questions? Again, thank you for your time. Thanks for giving me a few minutes for this important program. And as far as the school district goes, this is as an important initiative as what we're doing within the school district. So I'm glad to be here and glad to have the opportunity to listen to what these individuals have to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dr. Sano is very supportive of PTAs and the council in Norman. He attends all of our council programs. So if you ever have questions about initiatives or the bond update or, I don't know, boycotting state testing, he'll be at our program, so don't be afraid to come. Most superintendents aren't that hands-on, so we're really lucky here in Norman. Next, I'd like to introduce Corey McMahon. He is the CEO, president, the big man at McMahon Marketing, and he's actually a platinum partner, which means that they have gone above and beyond to support the council, and so we'd like to thank them with giving him time to talk to you for a few minutes tonight.
So I also have the title of coffee maker, printer copier, every title that comes with it. We are a small marketing and advertising agency right here on Campus Corner. Anyone heard of us yet? McMahon Marketing? Whoop, whoop, Boomer Center. We love our office. We love Norman. We love our environment, being right there with a lot of the energy of the students, with the university being across the street. So we help organizations and businesses with their marketing, their websites, their social media. We help do a lot of training and consulting for companies right here in Norman. So we're really excited to be here tonight. We love this community, and I've got a little baby girl. She just turned 1 year old, and so it's exciting to hear about tonight's initiative, Norman Forward, to think about how this is going to change potentially our lives, our children's lives, and just make this really exciting time for the quality of life of Norman. So I'm not from Oklahoma, and we have made this our home, and so we're really excited to get behind this and see this move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of turn this over to Kyla McMoran and John Woods to tell you guys all in very detail about this exciting project. So let's welcome them.
All right, thank you.
Hey guys, it's good to be with you. Marie asked if I could speak and to the council, and I said, sure, what do you want me to speak about? She said, speak about 5 minutes and sit down. And so, but I'm glad to be here. I'm a volunteer, one of many, that's working to try to get an initiative passed that's going to be on the ballot in October. And so I want to just share, give you kind of a 30,000-foot view of what's going to be on the ballot. Hope you agree with me that's needed and support it. But mostly just want to educate you about what's going to be on the ballot. And then I know there's some others here, both from the city with the Parks Department, which are going to be integral in the implementation if we're successful. And the library is here to answer some specific questions on the library. But, you know, kind of before we start, I want all of you to think about our community, over 115,000. If you were to carve out, God bless the University of Oklahoma, but if you were to carve out the university and kind of take it out of the equation and look at our city and what we have to offer our residents, our neighbors, our kids, our seniors, when it comes to the types of things that make a community great, the amenities, the cultural facilities, the activities, the places that they are citizens and take on the day-to-day activities. I think you would find that we are woefully underprepared in our facilities and undersized in our facilities. I think you'll find that we're aged in our facilities, that we've got some aged facilities that need updating, and we don't have enough to fit the population of where we're at today in Norman. And so a lot of community leaders that were interested in a variety of projects got together and started talking about what can we do to fix some of these issues and to get Norman to be both competitive with our surrounding communities, so our kids have some of the same activities and resources that Moore is now developing, that Oklahoma City, that Edmond has, that Yukon has, and what can we do to fix some of our outdated facilities. And so they talked to council, they worked with council, and Councilmember Castleberry is here tonight. Council worked exceptionally hard at looking at the projects, right-sizing them, making sure they work for our community, and getting the package ready to go to voters. So we'll have that opportunity on October the 13th. So what's Norman Forward? It is ultimately at the end of the day, it is a half-a-cent sales tax that would last for 15 years to fund the following projects. First of which is a new central library. You're currently in a library that was built in 1966. I said 67 earlier, it's even older than that, it's 1966. A facility was built in 1966 when Norman had a population of about 48,000. We're now at over 115,000. So we are in need of more space, the ability to have a 21st century library that has the types of resources and activities, computer access, genealogical research that people are interested in a facility. The library would be located just north of us here, so north of Acres, on property that used to be the old mill. And this is certainly not what the library will look like, but is an idea of the size and scope of what you're looking at in a facility just north of us here. And then next to that, we have the ability to put in an access road from Robinson Street heading south, what's called James Garner Boulevard, or Front Street, as others may know it, that would go from Robinson into downtown Norman, down into Acres, which extends now down to Main Street. And that's great for several reasons. One is the current access points to downtown Norman are Porter and Flood, and those are overcrowded for certain, so it's a reliever to those. And then secondly, honestly, it creates a more direct and more beautiful boulevard into the downtown area. Helps certainly the library system when they're up and running, but more importantly creates a better traffic infrastructure for citizens, for everything else going into downtown Norman. Also added to the library system will be an East Side library. I think if anyone knows, especially if you live East Side is underserved in so many ways in our community. This facility would be located on Alameda. If you know where the new fire station is at, it would be on property the city owns next to the fire station. And it would be about the same size and scope as what we currently have and are fortunate to have when the library system was able to have the Old Borders bookstore and turn that into a branch library. So you'd have the same type of resource on the east side of Norman for our residents there. Senior Center. Our senior center that our seniors are currently in was built in the 1920s, an old Carnegie Library, and is most certainly not enough size when you start to look at the baby boomer generation that are becoming seniors, and is absolutely not equipped to do the type of things seniors want. The seniors of today are not the seniors that my grandparents and great-grandparents were. They're active, they're connected, they want to have fitness capabilities, they want to be able to have computer access, they want to have computer training, they want to have training on skills, they want to have craft opportunities, they want to be able to play games together, they want to have lessons together, they want to have continuing education, and they need access to services that they can have in the facility. This is simply, and I want to, as you look through all of these are conceptual type drawings. But as far as the capacity of what's needed, of size, and the types of services that they would need, they'd be able to have technology education, a fitness studio, club room, assembly room, courtyards, conference room spaces, something our seniors need. We do not have enough space now, and the facility has some serious infrastructure issues, and so they're facing that problem. In 2008, our city conducted a Parks Master Plan, did a wonderful job of analyzing the parks in our system, both the capacity needs, the maintenance needs, the locations, and what upgrades are needed. Going forward, we bring $25 million to bear to help fulfill some of the needs of the Parks Master Plan. What does that include? Well, one, it includes upgrades and maintenance and repairs to over 51 community parks across our city. And they truly are across the city. What does that mean? That means adding things like new benches, new shade structures, new toys in some instances, new fencing, new fields, and general upgrades. It also includes adding, I believe it's 5 or 6 new community parks. 5, I think it's 5, Judd. 5 or 6 community parks. And then it also includes, I'm sorry?
Neighborhood parks.
Neighborhood parks. Neighborhood parks. Neighborhood parks. Also includes upgrades to Andrews Park, which we're right across from right now. Would add new shade structure for the amphitheater there. Would update and expand the splash pad, and would update the skate park in Andrews Park. It would fulfill the promise to complete more of Legacy Trail extension. If any of you have been on Legacy Trail, which is just to the east of us from where we're at right now, but 10-foot sidewalks that extend from south of campus through downtown, goes up to Robinson Street. It would complete that trail both south, not complete in the sense that we can always do more, but we complete a plan that would complete a northern loop of that trail, extend it south into Highway 9 area as well. Tennis courts at Westwood. We have currently 2 public tennis courts in Norman. This would double that, would give us 4 tennis courts, and would make 2 of those indoor, heated, cooled tennis courts for our community. Ruby Grant Park is a land that's currently nothing but brush and underbrush located on Franklin and 36, so it's in northwest Norman. This land was deeded to the university by the Ruby Grant Trust. The city was able to purchase it to turn it into a park, very specifically deeded for a park with certain uses that were required by the trust. This would complete phase 1 of Ruby Grant Park, which would bring another core park into our city's infrastructure. Would have cross-country trails, would have pavilion space eventually, walking trails, green space, ability for recreational sports as well in that area, beautiful park space. Saxon Park, which is already online, Saxon Park is located in southeast Norman. And if any of you have not been to Saxon Park, I would highly encourage you to take your family out there for a picnic, go running, jogging, walk around, look at the space. It's a gorgeous park. One, it will help you see what the rest of our parks could look like, because it's a fairly new park, so the city's been able to incorporate a lot of the design features that you look at in the rest of our park features. This would complete phase 2 of Saxon Park, which includes signage, practice fields, cross-country track, recreational fields, add some additional parking, so fulfill the full plan of Saxon Park in southeast Norman, which is great for all of us. Canyon River Nature Park is land that the city would be under negotiations with to acquire. That's located on the riverbed in southwest Norman, so right off of Linton Street, close to I-35. And this would be, if you're very familiar with Sutton Wilderness, the concept would make what's called a passive park. Sutton Wilderness is a passive park. Create a passive park space in that area. In fact, this area was just in the news yesterday or today our police department, trying to crack down on that particular area. We've got issues with people that are firing weapons in the area. They think it's hunting space, they think it's a hunting preserve, even though there's a neighborhood just to the north of it. And so this would create a better park space for citizens, very similar to Sutton Wilderness, very passing trails. Speaking of Sutton Wilderness, what a lot of people don't realize is that Sutton Wilderness, Griffin Park, and K Park, which is to the south of that, is not owned by our city. Our city leases that property. And when that lease expires, the city, through legislation, is required to sell that property. Now, we want to keep that in our city hands. We want that for our citizens, for our community. We want to preserve that park space. So part of the funding of Norman Ford will dedicate $10 million towards part of the purchase necessary to acquire that space so that city property can be preserved for generations to come for our community. Westwood Swimming Pool. This is one of my favorites because I grew up in Noble, lived in Norman as well, and when I was some of the kids' ages during this crowd right now, I was going to Westwood Pool. Westwood Pool was built in the 1960s. And Westwood Pool, I'm not so sure looked great in the 1980s, much less how it looks today in 2015. It's in really rough shape. In fact, I would say it's near critical infrastructure failure. Kudos to our city that's really done everything that they could do to keep maintaining what's difficult for a facility that's really lived more than its life cycle. Has some piping issues that they've had to weld sleeves and do some protective things to maintain it. But that pool cannot last for much longer. This would raise that pool and create in it, in the same area, a new pool system. And as close as what I would compare it to, so this is my words, not the city's words, but if you've been to like an Earlywine Park in southwest Oklahoma City, that type of quality facility that actually would be a little bit larger than that and has the option to have more of a depth pool, lap pool system, plus the things that you would have, like an Earlywine where you have a zero entry pool for toddlers. You would have some of the recreational things kids like, slides, lazy river as well. One of the things that I like about it too, at least in one of the potential designs, one design that's being proposed, would include a grass knoll area. And so for those that don't want to lay on concrete all day before they go to their pool, you could actually have your kids out in a grass area before you go into the pool. It would be incorporated into the swimming pool area, something I think is great. Also included would be an indoor recreational and competition pool. Something that we've not had in Norman, the university has, but they have more and more as demand has increased on their own resources. Of course, they're going to be the first consumer of that pool for their students. They need it more and more. Our community is able to use it less and less. We have a state champion swim team in our Norman Public School system. We have a very active senior swim club. Those entities partnered with Norman Regional Health System and partnered with the YMCA would join in the operational costs with the city to help reduce those operational costs and be able to bring us an indoor pool that could be multi-use. So you could have a tournament one Saturday, you could have open swim time on a Sunday. On a Monday, Norman Regional Health System could bring individuals over that need therapy sessions in a pool setting. And so you have that multi-use capability of an indoor pool system, obviously can be used year-round. Great for our students, great for our school system, great for every citizen as well. Griffin Park. Griffin Park currently houses both baseball and soccer. Again, someone from experience, I was playing soccer at Griffin Park back in many years ago, and had the same field capacity then that we have now. We have over 2,000 kids in our community that are playing at Griffin Park. We do not have the field space for those kids. We don't have the field space for the 10% that sport's growing on an annual basis amongst our youth. This would make Griffin Park a solely soccer field, or soccer fields. It would add 9 new fields. It would make some of the fields turf, so you could play for a longer season if you can't just on grass. It would also add an indoor sports, or single indoor soccer field to the park area as well. But also something that I'm excited about if you ever take your kid to Griffin Park, it redoes the parking lots in Griffin. So you can spend an hour at Griffin Park watching your kid play soccer, you spend 2 hours trying to get out of Griffin Park. And so a better parking lot that's better designed to fit the traffic and the traffic patterns and the capacity needed would be great for our soccer system in Norman. Baseball fields that are at Griffin would move to Reeves Park, which we already have some baseball there. It would concentrate our baseball fields, redesign those fields to add the number of fields that are at Griffin over to Reeves. That is great, not only to help really, I think, revive what we've been liking in Norman with Little League play, because you do have the field space all in one area, which is necessary. I think it will also help in tournament play, which I can tell you, I've got a future stepson that plays for Moore, and they have tournaments in Moore all the time where those kids are going to play in Ardmore, or they're going to play in Edmond, or they're going to play in Seminole, or they're going to play in Shawnee. So our family decided to travel to those communities and spending a whole Saturday and Sunday, and being able to at least have the option of having a tournament at home. And then secondly, for our local economy, there's nothing better than a van full of a family with 5 screaming kids that are going to spend about $100 each one of those kids on a tournament weekend. So it's a bonus to them. There is currently at Reeves Park, there is adult softball fields. Those fields will be moved to a separate site. I'll tell you that the city is currently trying to decide what the best site location for that will be. But would have a separate site, about 25 acres, that would house new softball fields for adult softball. It would also have football fields, and it should say youth as well. So not only for adult play, but be able to have youth football also at that particular facility. Basketball, volleyball, this one's pretty passionate to me. I think I mentioned it earlier. Our kids are playing basketball in a World War II era hangar that has asbestos. And if you have been in there, I was there this summer when my daughter's playing basketball, no air conditioning. And when you got to the sidelines of those courts, you had chunks of the courts that are missing. And that's not so great when your kid isn't as good a basketball player as mine is, and they're running out of bounds and tripping on pieces of the wood flooring that's missing there. It is just in bad shape. All that being said, God bless it. It was a World War II hangar. What do we expect, right? So this would raise that facility down and add a new facility that would have at least 12 courts. And the great thing about it now is how you can design court space is you can have it be flex space. So it's not just for basketball. It can be multi-sport usage. It can be used for volleyball, which we are very underserved in our ability to have volleyball courts in our community. It can be used for volleyball tournaments, basketball tournaments, optimist play. Could be used for wrestling as well. So it has that multi-dimension of space that can be utilized. Now, how does that happen? Well, start talking about these things. They actually do cost money, and we actually do have to invest in our community. The city's asking for a half-cent sales tax. Our current sales tax rate, I'll tell you, is at 7.25. This will put it at 7.75, 7.85. Put it at 8.25. Put it at 8.75. One of the things that's great to recognize about that is we have a 1/4 cent sales tax currently on the books through our county government that funded the new jail system. I think that's great to point out for 2 reasons. Our voters voted in a 1/4 cent sales tax to build a new jail system. I damn sure think we can vote a half-cent sales tax to invest in things in our community that we need. That being said, a 1/4 cent, which is that kind of jail, will be rolling off about the next 2 to 3 years when they pay that off, unless they come to voters and want to do something else. But that will be coming off the rolls. So a half-cent sales tax for 15 years. We'll be able to do all the projects that we talked about. Not only will we be able to do those projects, it also includes a public art portion, so that you aren't just slapping up a building, but they will be quality facilities with quality art surrounding those major facilities. And the city has done a very, very good due diligence on looking at the maintenance costs needed, the staff that would be needed, a maintenance repair fund that would be necessary to conduct all of these, traffic analysis and some of the traffic improvements that would be necessary to be made so that they cover all their bases. And they just did a great job with that. What's in for us? Well, I tell you what's in for me. I've got a 12-year-old daughter. We've lived in Cleveland County my whole life. My hope is that she goes to the University of Oklahoma, and my hope is she finds a great job in Norman and wants to live about 2 blocks from Dad. That may not happen. It may not. She can go to any university she wants other than OSU. But if she chooses to go anywhere, I at least want her to have the option and desire and interest to make Norman her home. And that does not happen if we don't invest in our community. What's in it for us is the type of facilities that we need to make Norman a great city, continue to live, and improve space and investment in our community. So what can you guys do? Well, one, if you're not registered to vote, shame on you. But if you are, you have until September the 18th that you can register to vote to be able to be eligible to vote in this October election. So register to vote if you aren't registered. There are support pages, and I think they're in the back column, am I correct? If you do support it, you say I'm for it, there's a page where you can add your name to a list. And one of the things that you do in these campaigns is there will be a big ad in Sunday's transcript paper that says, these are citizens that believe in this. Please join them in voting yes. If you'll add your name to that list, we'd be in interest, unless you're someone that no one likes. Talk about Norman Ford to your friends. You guys are powerful in numbers and powerful in influence. The fact that you're here tonight because you care about our children and our school system means that you're invested in this community, and people know that you are, and people listen to what you say. So share it with your friends. It is amazing to me. Robert may be glad, no, I know he's not glad, but turnout in municipal elections are so woefully low. And it's amazing to me that we will stand in a line for 2 hours to vote for president, which we should, don't get me wrong. We'll vote for president when the things that impact our day-to-day life happen at our municipal level, and people won't go to vote for who their city council member is, won't vote for a bond issue for your school system, won't vote for your mayor, won't vote for what your sewer rate or your water rate should be, and won't vote for something that can make a difference in our kids' futures and lives. So share the message with people how important it is to go vote. There is a website, normanford.com, if you want to learn more. Email it to your friends, let them learn more. On Facebook and Twitter, you can like it on Facebook and then share it with your friends as well. Get involved. I'll leave it at that, and I know there's some that are much more experts than me on some of the minutiae of some of these projects, so if any of you have questions, I'll try to answer it, or I know they're...
Well, I'm going to jump in real quick, and you actually have some presidents here of various units. If they wanted to have you come to a PTA meeting, or at least grab some information to share with their PTA members, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, we can talk afterwards. If any of you are interested, I'll give you my information, and we'll... If I can't do it, we'll find another kind of volunteer speaker that can come speak to your group. We'd love to do that. Several that would love to do that. I think it would be a great resource. And again, I'm a believer in educating people regardless of where they're at on an issue, so they just know the facts behind it if we get involved. So,
and building on that, we mentioned registering voters by September 18th. This may be the way to get your parents registered to vote. You know, I know we've got East Side schools here. I want a library on my side of town. Lots of parents do, but hey, if we get them registered to vote for this, hey, don't forget to vote. It's time to tell our legislators what we want in terms of education, so we can join forces here to get people, and our parents specifically, more active in the voting process. So the people that he was referring to, I have Ann Masters. If you want to come up, we'll move you up here so everyone can see you. Ann Masters is the director of the Pioneer Library System, and so she's going to tell you a little bit about, more specifically, the library information. They've done a great job, but if you have anything additional, go ahead. And we also have Judd Foster, who is the director of the Parks and Recreation Office for the City of Norman.
When you sit up here, you mean come take a seat?
You can sit on the table, but be careful. If you fall, I will feel bad. Yeah, sit up here, but so they're here to answer any questions that you may have. So go ahead and feel free. And do you want to start us off with any additional information you may want to share?
Sure. Well, first of all, the Pioneer Library System. Not everyone understands the relationship between what we are, the Pioneer Library System. So Pioneer was the first multi-county library system formed in Oklahoma. It started in 1958. We serve Cleveland, McLean, and Potawatomi counties. The branch libraries that are throughout our three counties are offered in partnership with our city. So in Norman, the city of Norman builds and provides and maintains the facilities, and Pioneer through the ad valorem tax that the citizens of our counties voted to provide better public library services. Pioneer provides all the operational expenses. So the pieces, the new libraries that are part of Norman Forward are City of Norman buildings. The Pioneer doesn't build those buildings, but we are prepared and look forward to putting the materials and technology and staff and operating those buildings. I passed around, so some of you have hopefully received, or we have more, a little brochure that just provides the answers to some questions that we think you might have. about the new libraries. John did a great job of providing the overview, so you know that the replacement for this library would be just north of Andrews Park, and the East Library would be on the campus of the Fire Station number 9. We would continue to have the West Side Library that is in the old Borders building along with Pioneer's headquarters. I would guess that most of you in this room are familiar with the services that this library provides. I'd like for you to meet Caroline Dolworth. If you don't know her, Caroline is the branch manager of this Norman Central Library. And I know that the Norman community loves and supports the children's services that are here. We say that the children's librarians here are the rock stars of the library system. We want to take everything that's good about this library with us to a new and better facility, and we want to add to that quiet spaces, study rooms, conference rooms, a much larger meeting room space, spaces to expand the kinds of programs that we're doing in our computer lab that are STEM kinds of programs, hands-on technology things that we've started to do. So that is our vision for the Central Library, just more and better what we have. But East Norman hasn't had a library, so East Norman needs the meeting rooms, the place for the convenience of a library that is handy. So that library we envision of about 12,500 square feet, while the new Central Library would be 82,000 square feet compared to the 55,000 square feet that we have in this building now.
When, assuming that it does get passed, when, and maybe you can answer this as well, John, when do we foresee the new libraries being finished?
About 3 years from the vote.
Is that both of them?
I've been told by the city that that's both of them.
Okay.
They would come on board together, and they would be among the first projects to roll out after the vote. So it will take some time. There have been a number of public meetings and study sessions with the council and over the last year and a half, but there would be another 2 public meetings, one to share information about the concept, the ideas that have been gathered over the last year and a half. Really, that's culminating planning that actually started in the late 90s that have brought us to this place. So there would be a first meeting as soon as possible to talk about what we already know and the kind of information that the architects have put together. And then that meeting would gather more information about what should the libraries look like, and outside and inside. And that then the architects would go back, work on that, come back and share that information at a second public meeting, and then it would be often done. So about 3 years, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that, any other questions that you would have.
And you might tell everybody, our city tried a few years ago to get a library and a new library, bring it to the public. That vote failed by how many votes?
I think it was 130 votes out of 13,000 or so.
So every vote counts.
There was a lot of support for the library, but there were some issues with that package that actually have been resolved now. I think that there were some people who said, well, a new central library would be great. That one was about 120,000 square feet compared to the 82,000 that this one is. But we'd like libraries closer to where we live. We'd like branch libraries. So Pioneer, in cooperation with the city has made that happen on the west side, and now this Norman Forward package will add that on the east side. There were questions about where that library would be. That was not decided, and now we have an excellent site, I think, for the new central library and the east library. So I think the few negatives that were a part of that issue when it went to the voters in 2008 have been resolved, and I think that now those library plans are something that we think is all positive.
Now, if no one has any questions, we're going to move on to Judge Foster. And Steve Gillis is here, correct? You were hiding from me. I've never actually met you face to face. He's the complex coordinator for Norman Youth Soccer Association, so you'll have a chance to ask soccer-specific questions as well. But don't worry, Ann's not leaving, so if you think of questions, we can ask questions towards the end. So, Mr. Foster.
Thanks, Bree. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you folks, and appreciate what you all do in your roles with councils and such. But I have a son that's not long out of Norman High School and was involved in things that you are doing for many years, and I appreciate what you do. We are excited about the opportunity that Norman Forward brings our department and our whole park system, Parks and Recreation system. The main thing that I want to focus on, I guess, in my comments, and I'd say John did a great job of describing each of the projects, but he referred to the Parks and Recreation master plan that we did. I think he mentioned we worked on it in 2008. It was actually adopted by the City Council in 2009, and it took almost a year, or about a year, to complete it. It was based on almost entirely on public input through a whole variety of ways, some scientifically valid survey work, a lot of public meetings, lots of opportunities for the public to comment, and on all the different pieces and parts of our park system. And we compiled all of that information, and we were able to put this plan together, and then we had to just kind of sit on it and hold on to it. We've been able to do a few projects here and there as we could afford to, but by and large, the whole package was just too expensive to do all at one time. And so this is going to allow us to do that. And the main thing the primary things that came out of the public input in our master plan was, first and foremost, almost always, is trails. Trails. Build more trails, we want more trails, places to walk and ride bikes and so forth. That's very consistent. And then the other thing that was really loud and clear was, before you do anything else, upgrade what we have. Let's upgrade our neighborhood parks. And John said, a lot of them are tired and worn out. And so this is going to be an opportunity for us to do that. And you saw the slide, 51 neighborhood parks we're going to be able to work in. And we're most excited about that. Then beyond that, we get to a lot of the more current desires or popular projects, if you will. Ruby Grant Park is one that comes to mind. Another project that we struggled and were able to finally get the land acquired several years ago, but haven't had sufficient funding to start the development of it. And so this is going to allow us to do that. It's going to put a community park on the west side of town that offers more of a passive list of amenities, which is, again, was also a public process, a public input process that developed that master plan as well. So that, and then again, you move into the sports complexes, Reeves, Griffin, the new complex for softball and football. Those are all exciting things and projects, those facilities that are long overdue for upgrading and making them competitive with other communities our size around the state that are able to attract these tournaments and attract visitors to our state. And so we're excited about all of those things. Those are just some of the highlights I wanted to comment on. But and Westwood Pool goes without saying. John did a great job of describing it. It is on life support right now, and we've been able to keep it going. But he's exactly right. It won't last much longer. It's just too old and rusted, and it's just time. We've gotten our money's worth out of it, and it's time to put a new one in place. And so we're excited about all of those things and everything on the list, but those in particular. And just one last quick comment about the master plan. Almost everything identified in our master plan will be included in this project list. And that's huge for our city and our park system.
I have a question about the neighborhood parks. You mentioned 51 neighborhood parks will be upgraded. I live in Royal Oaks, which is one of our newer neighborhoods. You know, it's not the newest. I think it's early 90s. And we go there all the time. I have an 8-year-old and a 1-year-old. And it's looking shaggy. You know, the mulch needs to be replaced. The equipment is old. So my question is, are you going to be getting input from the neighborhoods themselves about what they want to see upgraded, or is this going to be people coming in and tell us what we need upgraded?
In some cases, we will. A lot of that's already been done, and it was done in the master planning process. We have, our plan has a list of recommended projects for every park. Each one of those, and Royal Oaks is one of those.
Okay.
And so it lists the priorities, and then we'll take another look at those and determine if we need additional input. Some things we've been able to accomplish already here and there, and so those recommended lists will change somewhat because we've already checked off some of those projects, and in that case, you know, we'll go get some more input from the neighborhood.
Is there a way for us to share our input with you whether you want it or not?
Sure there is.
Okay.
She's really good at that.
I mean, how would we go about doing that? Because of course, I mean, I would recommend that parents check the list that they have already provided about listed upgrades. But yeah, what would be your preferred?
I would say just contact our office,
Okay.
or email us, or call us
Great.
at our Parks and Recreation office.
And your home address is?
Say again?
Home address is?
Address.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that anyway.
How many of the
Been around.
city parks are also the school parks? At Adams Elementary, it's a city park that's used by the school. How many other city parks are used that way?
Adams and Monroe, and Truman, and Eisenhower, kinda, next to 12th Avenue.
Lincoln kind of has one too. Lincoln kind
Lincoln's
of has
next
one.
to Westwood. Yeah, no. Say,
Lincoln kind of has one too with the.
Lincoln is across the street and south a little bit, eastward.
Well, there's been situations in the past where PTAs have raised money for playground equipment. I know specifically at Adams, they raised money for playground equipment. And then when things were changed or moved or renovated, that was kind of an issue, and how to either reimburse that fundraising money or to take into account and replace if upgrades are being made. So I think there seems to be a little bit of a gap of figuring out what upgrades and equipment has been placed there by PTAs, I guess, and I guess it would apply to all those schools that have maybe put equipment in already.
Sure, that's a good point, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll make a note for us to communicate with those locations before any of those
Well,
changes are made.
at Adams, they did a construction change, and so when the construction change happens, they had to pull out equipment, and I don't know how it got replaced, and that was kind of the issue was it the city or is it the school district that needs to replace that? The district doesn't have a district-wide plan for playgrounds. It doesn't seem like it seems to be pretty much a PTA thing, but I would think that
Dr. Serrano is still here, actually, so.
But the city seems to have more of a strategic plan in place for playgrounds.
Okay. I don't know what else I can say. We can just communicate with you about
Yeah, I was
any
just
work we're gonna do
thinking
in
that
any of
maybe
those.
that's just to be something aware of as
Yeah,
you're
we can
doing it.
coordinate with you on ones that are, that have proximity to the school and see if there are any questions that PTA is tested.
Sure. Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions, actually. The pool, the indoor pool, will that be run by the Parks and Rec Department, or who's that going to be run by?
No, we anticipate that it will be run by the YMCA.
Okay, so my question is on that, since it is going to be run by the YMCA, and with the YMCA having their mission statement as to put Christian principles into practice through programs that build healthy spirit, mind, and body for all, and Norman promising that we are building an inclusive community, could that possibly disenfranchise non-Christian, non-religious, or LGBT community, and possibly display the lack of diversity with the elected leadership?
I would say absolutely no.
Okay.
In the resolution for North Forward, it specifically says that these facilities will have access to everybody, regardless of income, it doesn't matter. The Y is going to be managing it because the Y knows how to manage schools. They're not gonna have,
Well, my question is, the city does too. The city runs Westwood.
Well, the Y's gonna be
But
able to
the city,
run
I
it
mean, the city can
24/7.
No, but this right here, you know, some Christians do discriminate.
well, this is
against others.
not a Y facility.
Okay, it's just.
So the Y is, we're using the management services of the Y. So I'm not sure that, I don't,
Just to, I come from a Muslim background, and the Y has been very accommodating to Muslims because we cannot allow male or females to even see each other even certain ways when we swim. So they've actually opened the doors for us early on Sunday mornings so we can have a Muslim environment, swimming environment. So I think, and it's not a moneymaker for them, it's more of a headache that they've made that accommodation for the large Muslim population in Norman. So even though they might have some principles like in their summer program that's a little hard, they make huge accommodations for different religions or different thoughts in how families' ideals are made. So I don't think, and there was several of the management team there, they work really hard to make sure that's not an issue. So I think even if they're managing, I don't think it's an issue because they've been very accommodating.
they'll be contracted by the city. So, I mean, our city has override contracts.
Okay, because the only reason I asked, I do have some friends that are in the LGBT community, and they have told me that because they are married, they cannot get a membership to the Y because of their Christian beliefs, and I just wanted to make sure that those beliefs weren't going to go into affecting how the pool is ran, since they're actually the ones managing it. So the city is going to go with the beliefs that it is inclusive to everybody, regardless of race, creed, gender.
That was a good question. I know that that's not the first time I've had that question about if the Y is running it. So thank you for asking that.
Well, you do not have to be a Y member.
Okay.
I'm sure they want to encourage it, but, you know.
The other question is the sponsorship for the annual maintenance. You know, it's $750,000, and it's going to be divided by the YMCA, Norman Public Schools, Sooner Swim Club, you know, City and the hospital, and then revenue from swimming. Is that going to be put into a long-term contract? Because what if, say, next year Dr. Sayano's budget is cut drastically and they can't afford to provide the $50,000, who's going to be responsible for covering that?
One thing that we put in there is, on this, one of the agreements we have with the Y, if they manage it, is that the city's risk is no more than $175,000 per year.
Okay.
So if the hospital doesn't come up with the money, if the public schools doesn't come up with the money, the Y don't vote.
The Y has stated that
They'll make up a shortfall.
Now, what if the
That's not only off the low.
That's the outlet for.
Yeah.
And I'm not, you know how, you know as well as anybody how the budgets are being affected for the schools, or any budget.
But one of the things that we do is introduce the support for a program that's pretty significant in the district. So it's
Especially
not
now
about-
that state championships.
It's not about investing in the Y, it's investing in that program.
Now, in the event that you have a catastrophic failure, say a pump, filter, or HVAC system, whose responsibility is it for the replacement of that? Do you have a contingency in place? Because I know you had the sponsors for the $750,000.
It'll be a little bit of both. Currently, the Y has about $3 million set aside for reserve. They plan these type of things. In the Norman Forward plan, there's a 5% contingency that's going for reserves for all facilities. So that would be for the pool, for the aquatic, the basketball facility, the parks, and everything. So we've got some money built in there. What you don't want to do is you don't want to spend, $100 million or so on stuff, but not be able to maintain it.
Right.
You see all the people, sometimes I always joke about, if you have a beautiful house, I wish you had some furniture in it.
Yeah.
And so there's a contingency fund set back there to maintain this, and there will be money put back every
The
year.
only reason I'm asking that, I know some people live down in Greenville, Texas, and they went into the same deal. They joined with the Y, and they had their pump fail, and there was no contingency. That pool was shut down for 6 months before the city and the Y could hash out who was gonna pay for it.
Yeah, we've seen those kind of things in the past, that's why we kind of put this in there.
Great questions, David. Thanks for asking those.
Edmond and Ponca City have similar models where they have partnerships with Y and the schools.
Well, we'll let Steve, if you want to jump in. And again, John has been doing a great job highlighting the
I'll hand
project.
it over to John. He did a great job of covering all the highlights of what the soccer association received out of Norman Forward. So I'm glad to answer your question.
I guess,
One thing I would add is, as part of soccer goes, when we talk about kind of parking lot design, we've also talked about putting signalization in.
oh God, that would be great.
Okay. Not on Robinson and also on 24th.
Okay.
So, you can make it all in one, you still got the same number of cars coming out of there, and maybe easier now, but that the traffic, so the traffic impact analysis has done that to help the traffic flow. And then we talk about, well, golly, if you put the basketball facility and the swimming facility out in the Y, those are horrible roads. Part of that money in there was to facilitate new roads out there and infrastructure, storm drain, stuff like this.
I agree.
We have about almost $3 million program for infrastructure projects just like that.
I guess my question for soccer would be, that's a whole lot of new fields, which, my kids played soccer for years. Are the numbers of enrollment going up each year?
Yes, as John touched on, we're having about a 10% increase per year.
10%? Wow.
Had that the last 3 years. So we are busting at the seams.
Okay.
Now, with the soccer field, my daughter's played there for the last 5 years now. She's just moved up to traveling rec. With the adding of the new fields and everything, I know that last year, we got into a big problem, or last season specifically, where fields, how was it, 10, 12, 13, and 14 flooded significantly. Or is there any way that we could work on raising them to make those even so it's not down in or put in a drainage system through there so it's not flooded? I know we had to constantly move fields a couple times last year, my son and my daughter.
I don't think we've ever had a situation where the field was flooded and shut down because of that. We had
That happened
a lot
last year.
of rain and we'll postpone games because the field was surface unplayable, unsafe.
We actually had to move fields twice last year because we just had to shut down the field.
And that's probably because not just heavy rain, not
Are we
excessive flood.
looking at putting drainage in there to keep that from happening?
In the Norman Forward, there is a lot of top dressing and not only that, new lighting, there's several pieces there. Yes.
Is the master plan on the normanforward.com? Do you guys have that? Or
The
is it
master plan is on the city's
Okay.
website, the Parks and Recreation website.
And I will make sure to grab links to normanforward.com, the parks, MISA, and all of our speakers today, and email that out to our units that you can share with your members as well. Because again, this is all important things. And
the video.
And the video. We have a video. All right. Does anyone else have any questions at all? You've got the experts here on this 0.5% sales tax. I learned a lot of new stuff. This is not my first Norman Forward presentation. I'm clearly biased. But I didn't know about the jail percent coming down. So I think that makes it basically a 1/4% raise in sales tax. And you also didn't mention that while in the grand scheme of sales tax, right now we are on what, the lower third?
Yeah, it would definitely remain competitive with the surrounding communities for sure. And I can tell you, a lot of our, local businesses wouldn't support it if they did feel it made them anti-competitive.
We'll still be below, we'll be equal to more and below Oklahoma City. And both Oklahoma City and Moore are in the process of raising theirs also. So, we've got to, we don't want to be the highest, might even be also in Schlotten. But in the local area like this, you've got to be competitive and we still will. It's a map style. The concept is basically based on maps. That's why it's a short period. You're going to do these things with this long. And ideally, the reason why we went 15 years, it probably only takes 12 years to fund. The reason why we did 15 years is because you float 15-year bonds. That's just not a market. But we go through a 2009 recession. Something hits and sales tax doesn't come in. This gives us enough cushion there to make sure that we deliver everything we promised. And if things just go steady as they are, we pay the bonds off early, we save the money, and then we come in for round 2, 15 years later, what do we need to do next? More trails, and we'll go, hopefully go the same process, consistent input. What do you guys want now? And keep, we haven't invested in Norman infrastructure or anything like, we build roads, so this, as far as quality of life, this is the first time we've ever done like this.
Well, and clearly this is important, and again, it's a great opportunity to get your parents involved in voting. People often wonder, well, what does PTA do besides take my money for cookies and plan those classroom parties? Well, this is what we do. We do community engagement, we encourage voting, and we want educated voters. So if you're looking for a line of communication with your members to show real substantive material, this is it. This is a great place to start, and it's a very timely issue. Remember, you got to be registered by September 18th. And I know that all of you are registered because you're proud PTA members, but we have blank voter registration cards for you to take as well. My last few announcements, if John, you don't have anything else, if no one else has got any closing thoughts. Our next council program is October 6th at Norman High. It's late, I know. It's kind of our response to educating parents on issues that stem from Yes All Daughters. If you don't know what that is, we want to better educate our parents about the signs of dating violence, the resources that we have in our community to address dating violence, and also how to prevent and talk about it with your kids. It's not an easy subject, but ignoring it is not going to make it go away. And so we're going to have a panel with experts in all of those areas, and it'll be really nice to bring it back to Norman High to show that we have come full circle, and bad things happen, but they only stay bad if you don't learn from them. And we do learn from them, and we want to make sure our parents have the tools to address that issue most effectively. So again, that's Tuesday, October 6th at Norman High. If you haven't already liked our Facebook page, that's how we stay the most active. It's facebook.com/Norman PTA Council. And your council dues and Oklahoma PTA forms are due by October 31st, and your sanctioning forms are due by September 15th. So with that, I'm going to run back there and see who the winner of our gift certificate to Sooner Legends is. So thank you guys for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. Let's give a big round of applause to all of our speakers. Thank you very much.